The Snake and the Mirror. Before you read, let us know something about the author, VAIKOM Muhammad Bashir. The Snake and the Mirror, written by VAIKOM Muhammad Bashir, who was a renowned Indian author, writer, poet, and social reformer, known for his influential Malayalam literature that explored themes of love, humanism, and the struggles of the common man. And this story reflects a complex story of self discovery that is humorously told. The narrator is a vain and foolish young man who is, in a moment of crisis, realizes that he is poor, foolish, and stupid. The thing that the thing that first of all we should try to reflect ourselves is these two queries the writer has set for everybody before we enjoy the story what he wants to share with us. First one, do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? What do you think about at such times? Have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird look into a mirror? What do you think it sees? In front of the mirror, we see our own image, how we are looking. So that is our reflection. So this is the question that asks. So the snake and the mirror, it is connected to itself. So have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird look into a mirror? If yes, very good. So what uh, animals are, how they are behaving at that time? You might be understanding. You might felt very funny. All of the animals like these two are being shown of itself. The second question. Now read this humorous story about a doctor, a snake, and a mirror. So three things are here very important as the story is connected with. So let us understand paragraph wise. First paragraph, the narrator begins. Has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body? A full blooded cobra? All of us fell silent. The question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. So, in this excerpt, a homeopathic doctor possesses provocative questions about whether anyone, that means his friends or the patients in the shop, or you can say in the clinic, whether anyone has ever had a cobra wrap around them, promoting silence among the listeners. The doctor then begins to share a personal story. It was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. So he continues to share his story that the doctor then begins to share. Okay. his personal story, he sets the scene by describing a hot summer night around 10 p.m. After eating at a restaurant, he returns to his small rented room where he hears a familiar noise from above the roof of the house, okay, hinting at the presence of rats. He lights a kerosene lamp, indicating that his room lacks electricity connection. This introduction builds suspense and prepares the reader for the story that follows. Now let us proceed. What happened after this? Second paragraph, the house was not electrified. It was a small rented room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. Meager. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase along with some shirts and dhotis. I also possessed one solitary black coat which I was then wearing. So here in this part, the narrator describes his living conditions, emphasizing that his rented room has no electricity. He had recently started his medical practice but was earning very little money. He had mentions having only 60 rupees in his suitcase, indicating financial struggles. His belongings consist of a few shirts and dhotis, that is traditional Indian clothing, and he highlights that he owns just one black coat, which when no no yes which he was currently wearing. This description in this paragraph paints a picture of a modest and challenging lifestyle for the narrator. Paragraph 3. I took off my black coat, white shirt, and not so white vest and hung them up. I opened the two windows in the room. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. It had a tilt roof with long supporting cables that rested on the beam over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic of rats to and from the beam. Made my bed close to the wall. I lay down, but I to for a little air, but the wind god seemed to have taken time off. Here in this narrator describes his routine. He removed his black coat, white shirt, and slightly dirty vest, hanging them up to the air out. He opened the two windows in his small outer room, which had one wall facing an open yard. Features a tilted tilt roof with supporting beams but no ceiling. The narrator notes the presence of rats that frequently move around in the room, a lack of comfort, making his bed and trying to sleep, found it difficult to do so. Seeking fresh air, he steps out onto the veranda only to find that there was no breeze, suggesting a still comfortable atmosphere. So it conveys that the narrator's physical discomfort and restlessness he was having that night. Paragraph 4. I went back into the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the box beneath the table and took out a book. The Meritka. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. Small comb lay beside the mirror. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is near one. I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty and I believed in making myself handsome. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. Picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and parting so that it looked straight and neat. Again, I heard that sound from above. So here in this part, the narrator returns to his room and sits down chair. He retrieves a book titled Materia Medica from a box under the table and sets it on the table, which also has a lamp and a large mirror next to it, along with a small comb. Feeling the urge to check his appearance, he looked into the mirror. The narrator reflected on his admiration for beauty and his desire to present himself well, especially since he was unmarried and was a doctor. He believed that it was an important to make a good impression. He uses the comb to tidy up his hair, ensuring that it looks straight and neat. Just as he was focusing on grooming himself, he heard a familiar noise from above, adding a sense of uneasiness to the moment. 5. I took a close look at face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. I looked into the mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. I made another earth-shaking decision. I would always keep that attractive smile on my face to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor too. On top of it, again came that noise from above. So here in this paragraph, the narrator describes about that he had examined his face in the mirror and decides to adopt a daily shaving routine and grow a thin mustache to enhance his appearance and looks. He emphasized his status as a bachelor and a doctor, feeling that he needs to look presentable. After smiling at himself and finding it attractive, he made a resolution to maintain that charming smile at all times to boost his handsomeness. This reflection on his appearance highlights his vanity and desire to impress others. However, his moment of self admiration was interrupted once again by the noise coming from above the roof, suggesting an underlying tension in the narrative's minds. Paragraph 6. I got up, paced up and down the room. Another lovely thought struck me. I would marry. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money medical practice. She had to be fat for if I made some away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There was no more sounds from above. Suddenly, there came a dull thud as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning were simultaneous. So, here in this paragraph, the narrator stood up and starts moving in his room. Lost in thought, he then had a humorous idea about getting married, specifically to a wealthy woman doctor who had a successful practice. He comically reasons that she should be fat so that if he ever made any mistake and needed to escape, she wouldn't be able to chase him. After entertaining this thought, he sits back down at the table, feeling relaxed since there were no more noises from above. Suddenly, he heard a dull thud which he dismisses as unimportant. However, when he turned around to investigate, he was startled to find a fat snake sliding over the back of his chair and landing on his shoulder, creating a shocking and tense moment that interrupts his light-hearted musings. Paragraph 7. I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. The snake slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm above the elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. I was turned to stone, but my mind was very active. The door opened into darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. So here in this paragraph, the narrator again describes his reaction to finding the snake on his shoulder. He remains completely still, not jumping, trembling, or crying out because he felt there wasn't time for such reactions. The snake wrapped around his left arm with its hood raised and its head frighteningly close to his face. The narrator conveyed his intense fear by stating that he felt like a stone image frozen in place, though his mind was racing with thoughts. He acknowledges the darkness surrounding him and contrasts it with the light of the lamp, which highlights his tense and immobilized state. This vivid imagery emphasizes the overwhelming fear and helplessness he felt in this frightening situation. Paragraph 8. I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and this universe. God was there. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little hut the words, "Oh God!" There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? In this paragraph, the narrator again experiences a profound sense of fear and awareness of a higher power as he sits immobilized with snake coiled around his arm. He felt the presence of God, contemplating the gravity of his situation and the possibility that he might say something displeasing to the divine God. His anxiety manifests physically as he describes a painful sensation in his left him, which symbolizes both his fear and the overwhelming of the moment. As his arm loses strength, he feels helpless, emphasizing his vulnerability in this life-threatening situation. Paragraph: at my slightest movement the snake would me. Death lurked 4 inches away. Suppose it struck, what was the medicine I had to take? There were no medicines in the room. I was but a poor, foolish, stupid doctor. I forgot my day and smiled feebly at myself. It seemed as if God appreciated that. The snake turned its head. It looked into the mirror and saw reflection. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into a mirror, but it was certain that the snake was into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache or using eyeshadow and mascara or wearing a Indian spot on its forehead? So here in this paragraph 9, the narrator felt intense fear as he realized that any slight movement could provoke the snake to strike him, bringing death just 4 inches away. He reflected on his lack of preparation, acknowledging that there were no medicines in the room to help him, which leads him to feel about himself as foolish for being a doctor de- in such a dread situation. Despite the fear, he manages to smile at his predicament, suggesting a moment of self-deprecating humor. As if responding to his demeanor, the snake turns its head into the mirror. The narrator humorously imagines the snake itself admiring its reflection, pondering whether it is considering changes to its appearance, like growing a mustache or using makeup. This whimsical thought contrasts sharply with the tension of the moment, highlighting the absurdity of the situation and providing a moment of levity amid the fear and danger. Paragraph 10. I did not know anything for certain. What sex was this snake? Was it male or female? I will never know, for the snake unwounded itself from my arm and slowly slithered into my lap. From there it crept onto the table and moved towards the mirror. Perhaps it wanted to enjoy its reflection at closer quarters. I was no mere image cut in granite. I was suddenly a man of flesh and blood, still holding my breath. I got up from the chair. I quietly went out through the door into the veranda. From there, I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. Phew! Each of us heaved a sigh of relief. Somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? So, here in this paragraph, the narrator reflects on his uncertainty of the snake's gender, acknowledging that he would never know whether it was male or female. The snake unwinds from his arm and moves into his lap, then makes its way to the table, seemingly drawn to the mirror to admire its reflection. This moment shifts the focus from the narrator's fear to a sense of absurdity regarding the snake's behavior. Again, the narrator feels more human than ever and finally able to breathe quietly, gets up from his chair and escapes through the door to the veranda, eventually jumping into the yard and running away as fast as he could. This flight responses indicates his relief at escaping a dangerous situation. The scene with a moment of levity. Someone humorously asked the doctor if his wife was fat, contrasting earlier tension with a light-hearted question. Paragraph 11. No, doctor said. God willed otherwise. My life companion is a thin, reedy person with the gift of a sprinter. Someone else asked, Doctor, when you ran, did the snake follow you? The doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached a friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil all over myself and took a bath. I changed into fresh clothes the next morning at about 8:30. I took my friend and one or two others to my room to move my things from there, but we found we had little to carry. Some thief had removed most of my things. The room had been cleaned out, but not really. The thief had left behind one thing as a final insult. So finally, we are about to complete this, the snake and the mirror. So in this paragraph 11, the narrator, that means, okay, the narrator describes that the doctor humorously responds to the questions about his wife, stating that she was a thin, reedy person with gift of a sprinter, indicating that she was slim and agile, very energetic. This witty remark lightens the mood after the tense story. Another person had asked if the snake followed the doctor when he ran, to which he replied or recounts his escape. He explained that he ran to a friend's house and immediately applied oil on himself, took a bath, and changed into clean clothes to wash away the fear of the snake. The next morning, when he returned to his room with his friend and a couple of others to collect his belongings, only to discover to find to found that a thief had stolen most of his things. The room appears to be cleared out, but the thief left behind one item as a final insult, hinting at a humorous twist in the story. So, this passage underscores the absurdity of the doctor's experiences, blending humor with the challenges he faces in his life. Paragraph 12. What was that? I asked. The doctor said, My vest, the dirty one. The fellow had such a sense of cleanliness The rascal could have taken it and used it after washing it with soap and water. Did you see the snake the next day, doctor? The doctor laughed. I've never seen it since. It was a snake which was taken with its own beauty. So finally, the narrator describes at the end that when uh, when somebody asked that, okay, the doctor, what the thief left behind, and the doctor humorously replied that it was his dirty vest coat. That means the doctor used to put he had joked about the thief's apparent sense of cleanliness, suggesting that the thief could have washed the waste and used it instead of leaving it behind. Another person inquires whether the doctor saw the snake again the next day. The doctor laughed at it and revealed that he had never encountered the snake since that night. He amusingly concludes that the snake must have been taken within its own beauty, implying that it was so captivated by its reflection that it didn't need to pursue him further. This light-hearted ending reinforces the blend of humor and absurdity that characterizes the Doctor's experience, while also leaving the reader with a sense of relief and amusement after the tension of the earlier events. So, all this story he had discussed in his clinic of homeopathy, okay, from the beginning till the end. Now, the time is to reflect ourselves that what we learn from this story of the snake and the mirror. So, it might be possibly many morals that you have learned, but the moral of the passage could be like this, okay, that vanity and self obsession can lead to unforeseen consequences. Okay, that vanity and self obsession can lead to unforeseen consequences. The snake's fascination with its reflection ultimately led to its disappearance, while the doctor's humorous encounter underscores the idea that focusing and distracting. So overall, the story finally it runs like this. The doctor describes a experience where a snake coiled around his arm, causing him immense fear and pain. He remained perfectly still as the snake admires its reflection in the mirror. Seizing the opportunity, the doctor quietly escaped to a friend's house. Upon returning to his room, he found most of his belongings stolen away, with only his dirty vest left behind. The doctor humorously concludes that the snake's vanity about its appearance led to its disappearance. So this is all. Take care, read and revise, and we'll meet with another topic, another chapter. Till then, recall yourself and be ready with all the materials, study materials. Thank you.